How do we know what security controls to assign to an asset to protect it? Well, you should know the answer to this. As discussed, we do a risk assessment considering the threats, vulnerabilities, and consequences to the assets and select appropriate security controls. But what exactly do our assets need from our security controls? These security controls need to enable what we will call security attributes. A way to consider the type of security control we might need for an asset is to think about the asset in terms of its needs for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So let's define those three things now. Confidentiality. Do we not want the asset disclosed to anyone, i.e., that the asset is not disclosed to unauthorized individuals, entities, and processes? If that is true for the asset, that defines the sort of security controls we need for that asset. The next one, integrity. Do we not want the asset unintentionally altered? Do we want to maintain and assure the accuracy and completeness of the asset over its entire life cycle? This means that the asset cannot be modified in an unauthorized or undetermined manner, determining the security controls. The last one, availability. Do we not want it destroyed, i.e., for any asset to serve its purpose, it must be available when it is needed. This means the systems used to store and process the asset, the security controls used to protect it, the communication channels used to access it, must be functioning correctly. Again, this is determining the types of security controls if that is a security attribute that the asset requires. CIA is known in the security industry as the CIA triad. It's a very old but still well-used security paradigm. And we can call these CIA, this confidentiality, integrity, availability, we can call each of those security attributes or the security properties that an asset needs to be secure. As the security expert, you need to help determine what the assets are and assign what security attributes that are required for the asset so that it can be secured to within acceptable levels of risk. You would do this by questioning the owner of the entity that you are trying to secure and find out what they require. What does security mean to the owner? That's why somebody can't say to you, give me a secure system, because you don't know what secure means. You have to ask them what secure means. And one method, one technique is to use security attributes and find out what attributes those assets need. Does it need C, I, or A? So you do a requirements gathering for the security needs or attributes of assets. You simply ask the owner what they want. This isn't always a simple process because you have to guide them with your expertise, and they tell you what security means to them for that asset. Many security attributes have been proposed over time, CIA being the original and well referenced, but it has its problems. The CIA doesn't cover all security needs, and it does not speak in the language of the business or the way business people like to talk. So in 1998, a guy called Don Park proposed an alternative model to the CIA triad that he called the 6 atomic elements of information, or the Parkerian hexade. The security attributes are confidentiality, as we've already known, possession, which is the new one, integrity, authenticity, another new one, availability, and utility, another new one. So of the new ones from the CIA, we have the first one, possession or control, as it can be called. Let's define these. This would be a loss of control or possession of an asset, but does not involve the breach of confidentiality. You've also got authenticity, which refers to the veracity of the claim of origin or authorship of the asset. And then you have utility, which means usefulness, which again isn't part of CIA. So for example, ransomware that encrypts a user's data, that asset then is no longer useful. It has no utility. So if you were just using the CIA as security attributes, you would not have usefulness as an option, but you would have availability, which is similar. So these security attributes can be used to define asset security controls, as we've said. Not in the Parkerian Hexaid is non-repudiation, another common security attribute we will see mentioned if you read security literature. So non-repudiation in law implies one's intention to fulfill obligations to a contract. In cybersecurity, it implies that one party of a transaction cannot deny having received a transaction or message, nor can the other party deny having sent a transaction or message. So non-repudiation ensures that the sender cannot deny sending the message. And there's also two other important and well-referenced security attributes, and those are authentication and authorization. Authentication verifies the identity of the user or system. Is it what it claims to be? Are you who you claim to be? Is the asset what it claims to be? And then you have authorization. So upon authentication of the identity or of an identity, authorization determines what is it allowed to access. So authorization, what is it allowed to access? Authentication verifies the identity of the user or system. Is it what it claims to be? So as you can see, there are many security attributes that we might want to assign to an asset or think about in terms of an asset, in terms of its security controls. And from these, this enables us to choose security controls that provide those attributes. So let's get a little bit more tangible here with some examples. So if something is encrypted, this can provide confidentiality. If something is hashed, this can provide integrity. If something is digitally signed, this can also provide authentication, non-repudiation, and integrity. If something is encrypted and digitally signed, this can also provide confidentiality, authentication, non-repudiation, and integrity. So you can see there how we've gone from an asset to an asset having security attributes to then having security controls such as encryption and hashing and digital signatures that then meet those security attributes. Don't worry if you didn't understand about what hashes are or encryption. All of those things we're going to go through as we go through the course, but it's just to show you the path through which we have our asset, we have our security attribute, and then we have our security control that meets our security need, our security attribute. So as you can see, the way we're talking, we're not really talking in the way a business owner or a business person likes to speak. And it's often a business that is the entity by which we're trying to secure in cybersecurity. So this brings us to what I like to use for designing security architectures for businesses, and that's the SABSA business attributes. And here we are. If we look here, we can see security attributes, or as they call them, business attributes. But these speak a little better to the business to understand the security requirements, i.e. the security controls for assets. You determine if these business attributes here are required, maybe they're not required, are they a nice to have? So for your assets, you would look at their user attributes, management attributes, operational attributes. Do you need detectability? Does it need to be error-free? Do you need auditability? Should it be legal? Should it be scalable? Should it be governable? And so on. So that's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And I'm taking you a little bit further than what you might get on a standard security course where they may just talk about the CIA. I want to give you a little bit more of the real world where you need some more than the CIA, through to the Parkerian Hexaid, through to even having business attributes that come from SABSA. If you're interested more in SABSA, then check out that link there.